Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world and whether you're watching this on a replay or not. Uh, big, busy day today. We've got a lot going on, and we've already had a couple of people say hi. And Canute, who's always here, and Gary as well. Hi from Victoria, British Canada. Yeah, okay. And Canute, I mentioned her. Canada. No, Gary, you said it wrong. And that's it. It's immortalized forever. And I hope you're all doing well. There's been a lot of weird weather going on. We had lots of floods around here, which is a unique event for us in Texas, I have to say, around this area. And looking forward to the presentation of the enhanced Apercept SDK. That is exactly what we're doing today. And I do have a guest who's going to be with me. I'm going to put him on in a moment. A couple of things to go through before we get to that point. But Richard, who is in the back studio at the moment, he's one of the best coders in the expanding Delphi world. That can't possibly be true. I'll have to ask him on that later. I've said nice things to him in the past, and it'll go to his head. You know how it is. Hal and Dijon, beautiful and very keen as mustard. Get it, Sandro. Richard has just messaged me to say it's official. He is one of the best coders in the world. Hi from Austria, in the heart of Europe. Hi from soon-to-be rainy San Carlos in California. Wow, good. Actually, yeah, you think around that area you probably need a bit of it. And the Delphi way, more good stuff. Yes, it is, Rick. Toronto, wow, they're all joining up from all over the place. I'm really pleased. Appreciate everybody that joins up. Especially Cedar Park, fellow Texan, howdy y'all, proper Texan hat there, that's the real McCoy. And any Texan will know a place called Bucky's. If you go to Bucky's, you can get anything Texan you like. It's almost a religion down here. It's great stuff. And ciao from Italy as well. Okay, and Germany. Oh, yeah, I'll make sure I will get everybody a name check. Anyway, we got a busy day today. Quite a big demo. Before we do that, just a couple of things just to remind you once again about the where's it gone? Delphi Summit. There you go. Today is actually, I saw a message from Marco G from GTK, who are organising that. They're saying that today is the last day to get the early bird discount. So if you want to go to what is probably, and I can't promise because it hasn't happened yet, but what is probably going to be one of the biggest Delphi events in Europe this year, you've got to go to this if you can. I get it. Not everybody can. Some of you in different parts of the world, and Brazil has a really massive conference there, and some of you it will be expensive, and just maybe you can't get there because of time and all the rest of it as well. But if you can possibly go to the Delphi Summit, I absolutely recommend it. It is not being run by Embarcadero. We are helping to contribute towards it, but it's actually entirely run by GDK Software. Who are a tech partner, they're a consultant partner, they do all sorts of exciting things. And if you go to that website, the delphisummit.com, you'll see a video there. They've got an after show video of the last Delphi Summit, and it was mind-blowing. And Richard, my guest today, was there as well. And in fact, it's probably a good time to pull him in. Is that okay with you, Richard? Give you a thumbs up. Yes, he says yes. Okay, so let's bring Richard in. And I'm going to make you embiggen you, so to speak, so that you show up. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm always okay. What can I say? I've got a new phone. We swapped phone provider from. We used to use Verizon, which is very reliable, and then we're swapping over to AT&T because my fiber connection here, which is a 2.5 gigabyte synchronous internet, which
Very
is also,
jealous.
it's really fantastic. But that's from AT&T, and my daughter now works for them, so we get a special deal on phones. So I have like multiple phones in my house, and I had to transfer from this iPhone. This is going back to Verizon, but this is an iPhone SE. And I'm now this because I only use these for development, and I'm now going to be using a 15 Pro, I think. But
Ooh, that's an upgrade.
well, my wife's got the latest one. I can't remember what the latest one is, but anyway, the transfer process is amazing. And I tell you what, I plugged it into my Mac Mini and enabled development mode and all the rest of it. And I thought, oh no, there's an upgrade of Mac OS and there's an upgrade of iOS. I better check that everything worked. Just worked straight out of the box. So, you don't just chuck away. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, there you go. It's good stuff. Anyway, I'm totally talking nonsense, as I always do. Dave Nottage was very rude about me in our secret MVP group, on Slack. He's like, here's a link to the last webinar about frame stand. If you want to avoid 39 minutes of waffle from Ian, here's the link that takes you directly there. So cheeky so-and-so. Yeah. Hi, Ralph, as well. Okay, so you're a fan of the Delphi Summit as well. I think you're going as a sponsor this year. Is that right?
I was a sponsor last year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I will be a sponsor again this year. Great event. Really enjoyed it thoroughly. So
yeah, I mean it's outstanding, isn't it? I mean, for a company like GDK to put it together, it's really
I mean, the effort it must take them. It's really outstanding. So.
Well, everybody was there. I don't know who will be here there this year. I know I will be. Marco Cantu will be. Antonio Zapata will be as well. You're going to be there as well. So if people want to come and chat with you, you'll be there as well. Because I'm gradually making you famous in the Delphi community. So you're going to be Delphi famous. It's a weird thing. You'll go to Delphi events and it'll be like being a rock star, and then you walk out in the road and nobody will know who the hell you are. So what happens to me all the time? People are like, hey, can I take a picture with you? I'm like, I am just a weirdo, I don't know why you want my picture, but okay, yeah. It's very funny. But anyway, yeah, I mean, joking aside, the Delphi Summit it was really, really good. And we are trying to really inject something into it this year as well. On our behalf, and also I mean, last year there was Ray Konopka there. There was just everybody, every name you've ever heard of in Delphi. Stefan Glianki and all sorts of people turned up, and it was really a lot of fun. The one person that wasn't there was Holger Flick, actually, and he won't be there this year either. He says he's somewhere else that day. I see. He's doing a lot of web stuff nowadays. We won't talk about him anymore. He's on the bad list, the naughty list.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So enough joking around. I'm going to put your site up on there on the QR codes, and also for those that are unable to do it, because this does happen quite a lot. Some people say I can't scan it, or they don't know how to. They can also see you there, pointing down to the screen. This is Richard Hatherall to my
the other way.
Yeah, that way. There you go. From appercept.com. Now, I did actually get an overlay together in case they want to know where to get your stuff from. Is there going to be any live internet coverage for that event? That's a good question. And actually, I wanted to last year broadcast live from the event. And this year, we're going to make it happen. They do live streaming. You can get a ticket, I think, for live streaming at the event. But also we want to actually do some interviews and chat with people and go, because they have a few booths around the place as well, so it would be nice if we could do that. Yes, that would be a thing. But anyway, to go back to what I was saying, I did actually also, for those that aren't sure where to get your stuff, if they go into Get It Package Manager, and I only just discovered these overlays, you can have cutouts on them. So I apologize for blanking your head out there, but if they go into the Get It Packet Manager, very good. I don't think I can even do that. Yeah, this is great. So if they go into the Get It Package Manager, that's Tools, Get It Package Manager, and they just type in AWS, it will pull down the AWS SDK. That is the Embarcadero version, which is it's very capable. It does all the things you can do, but there is actually a pro version as well. You can only get the pro version from Richard's website directly. It's very reasonable price, I believe. He said, selling it for you there. But it does add some additional things on top. What we're going to be showing today, I believe, is a combination of the Embarcadero version and some extra bits of the Pro. Is that right?
Well, I actually have the Pro version installed.
Yeah.
For this, you won't notice. Particularly.
Now, I should say the Get It version at the moment, if they download it, is actually a slightly outdated version, because you did ship one yesterday, which is 1.2, I think. Is that right?
1.2, yeah.
So if they see it saying 1.1, it's a little bit out of date. I did try and elbow Serge along to get it up quicker, but he didn't manage it. So.
1.2. It adds. It's a good release. It's got new support for identity and access management service, so you can straight from your apps you can tinker with, query the data out of your IAM, which is what governs access control within AWS. If you want to create things on the fly, if you need to create a role to do a specific thing, you can do that all from the updated SDK. There are some, obviously each release comes with bug fixes and tweaks and things. There's a handful of bug fixes which are always appreciated, I'm sure, especially by the people that report them. I can't believe, I wrote a bug apparently, so.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure someone else did that and they sneaked it into your code when you weren't looking. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Because as we know, as what was it, as Francis says, one of the best coders in the expanding Delphi world.
Well, because I wrote a bug, that's why he's not put the best.
One of the best. Yeah. I'm very careful to make it clear to people that I'm not the best in the world. And that way I can completely screw up and everyone goes, well, he did tell us he's not very good. So, I'm hedging my bets. Okay, well, I'm going to hand over to you if that's okay. I think you're going to go through some demos. We can briefly just talk about what it is as well, actually. I think we can do that with the camera set up like it is. So if you just want to briefly talk about what your libraries do so that people can visualize, hey, why would I have this? What would I use it for? That's probably the best way, isn't it? Yeah.
So in terms of what my SDKs do, is it provides a very direct wrapper of the Amazon Web Services APIs. So you get direct access to all of the features that the Amazon SDKs provide in a Delphi style. So that's we provide sort of syntactic sugar where possible to make your Delphi code as you write it look a little bit nicer. We provide utilities to simplify the way things are handled. For example, with Amazon S3, it's a recommended pattern and almost required at times when you're dealing with very large data to break things up into multiple parts to do multi-part uploads. We have a utility that takes care of all of that for you, takes care of all of the complexity of that.
I think it's one important thing to mention as well is that the reason we Embarcadero are interested in it is because it's actually really straying from some enterprise level development, not completely. I mean, you know, if you're a regular just one-man band or one-woman band, of
Yeah,
course you can use it. And actually, with our Jokey Not a Hot Dog app and things like that, we show that you can use it for a mobile app. But
yeah,
it does have some capabilities there that appeal to the enterprise market. And the other thing about it is, and you always cringe when I say this, but it's a very, very well engineered library. The differentiator with your library, and obviously we've had some involvement in you know, helping direct the development of it, but what differentiates your library is the quality of what it does. So, for example, if something fails or needs to retry, then your libraries handle that very smoothly. Whereas I've seen some other alternatives that don't quite do that. I mean, you know, you can a lot of these other SDKs are kind of good in that they brush some of the topics. You know, they meet some of the things that you'd want to do. But yours is very much it's the you know, the work person's toolkit to say really of how to do it properly. And you know, Marco Cantu and myself are involved in sort of
yeah.
talking to you about this, and we're both very you know, we complement the engineering side of things that goes into this and into what we put into it. You know,
I have a philosophy, rightly or wrongly, about when I develop a service. When I release it's 100% complete at that point. Now, Amazon, of course, are going to change things, and it takes time for me sometimes to catch up because, you know, can't keep up with, you know, the juggernaut of Amazon. You know,
well, there's thousands of them and one of you. So
yeah, so I do try my best to keep things up to date, but yeah, so I try to look at how things, realistic use cases, make sure so you'll get full access to all of the API features, but I try to make syntactic improvements or utilities that help with like the most common use cases.
right.
So that should hopefully help you, you know, write nicer, cleaner code yourself in your own applications. You know, I can't say, you know, obviously there are you know, various alternates out there in various states of development. But I like to try and make sure that, like, when I release IAM, like I did in the last couple of days, that you've got access to all of it.
Yeah. And as I said, I mean, we are slightly biased in that we actually, you know, have a contract with you to deliver the Embarcadero version. So, you know, we obviously think it's good, but we genuinely think it's good. It's not, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I would
We put some financial and physical effort into this, so we should back it. No, it's not the case. We pick what we think is the quality first, and then you know, the kind of endorsement follows behind it.
Yeah.
So.
I would hazard one piece of caution. Of, you say it's, you know, very good enterprise, and then you made a little, oh, maybe it's also not enterprise. But I would say, I mean, I've used Amazon Web Services now for like I don't know, like 15 years or more, across various companies of different sizes for different purposes. It can be, I mean, obviously it can be extremely expensive, and it can be extremely, you hear the horror stories about like enterprise, and it sounds a very enterprisey thing, but it also, because it's pay as you go, and it's, you know, you pay exactly for what you're using. You, as a small developer or small IT shop, you can actually deliver at scales that is typically only achievable by large budget enterprise platforms. You know, because you get access to the same things that enterprises that are delivering on that platform. You're just paying less because you don't use as much of it.
It's a great leveler. You know, I mean, it's a great leveler because all of a sudden you're able to take the might of Amazon and put it behind you, and you're just a one-man show or whatever. And
exactly.
I mean, I do like Amazon services. I have to say, I've used them professionally myself. Even before I worked at Embarcadero, we had quite a lot of how can I put it without giving out any trade secrets? There were some systems that were based on Amazon that customers didn't know were based on Amazon, and we did things like backups via the Amazon as well, automated and all the rest of it. Lots of routing and content delivery, CDN type stuff, and that was all Amazon based as well. So yeah, you can get yourself in trouble if you unwisely do some stupid things with it. But actually, I never found any particularly bad bills, as long as you think it out first and don't go crazy. Hey, I'll just host 500 gigabytes of stuff on a an inappropriate service. It's going to happen, isn't it?
I mean, I having worked in teams using this at big companies, I can assure you those. I don't want to give away any details of those historical things, but I have witnessed some of those scary things, those big bills. But I would say it's as simple as read the pricing on Amazon Web Services website. It's all clearly documented. Sometimes you can think, because there's so many tiny little bits, it can be difficult to work out, when it's going to cost.
I'll tell you an anecdote about this. Okay. This morning, I've been dealing with GitHub. Okay. And the reason is that obviously Embarcadero have a GitHub account, and we happen to have something that was going on the GitHub account. We start getting emails telling us that we're meeting some kind of quota. And we're like, why is that? So all of us, the PMs and myself, because I manage some of the systems behind the scenes, and I look at it thinking, what's happened? Do you know, it took me 2 hours to find out what it was that was making this warning appear. And that's GitHub. So that's Microsoft. They're all the same. They make it actually quite difficult to work out. They tell you you're going to cost yourselves money, but they don't really make it obvious how. And Amazon has got this budget tool and things like that as well. So, I don't think this is an Amazon problem. I think this is in general.
It is, cloud
computing. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is there are tools out there to help with it, and it really are. It is not as it's terrifying the first time, I guess, when you've never done it before, when you've never gone cloud. But
you put your credit card number in and you think, there's spending budgets and things like that as well, and you can.
So when you look at what we're going to do right now, we're going to jump in and see AI image analysis. And the cost of that, if you consider what it would cost to build your own, neural nets and things to do this, you would cost, you'd cost a fortune to do it. Whereas you can do it. You can do like advanced image analysis for I think, was it 0.2 cents?
It was like there are a couple of zeros after the decimal point, and that was the thing. It's funny because I
have the pricing here.
When I was testing things out, I was sending a lot of stuff happening, and backwards and forwards, and I think it was like 5 cents or something like that I spent, and I sent a lot later.
So looking here, the image analysis is for the first million images, it is 0.001 of a dollar.
First million images.
For the first million requests.
I have to say, MD Maxi Donkey says, "Oh, hi everyone! Damn, I missed the beginning." But as Martin quite rightly pointed out, it is still the beginning. Because they should know better than that. I mean, I don't want these webinars to be a 8 straight out lecture. I want it to be a kind of social interaction. And Rick says we gave away free beer at the beginning. Yes, we did. It was a coupon, but it was one of coupons, so it's gone now. Anyway, so look, I think we've talked enough. Do you want to
share my screen?
Yeah, and then I'll work out how on earth I get that to appear, because this is always the bit that we don't do very often on the restream. And then plus you insist on using very expensive Macs as well. There you go. It says show on stream, so I can show it. There you go. I'm going to turn myself off, and so to speak, and then leave you on. Do you want if you want your camera turned off, I can turn your camera off, but you'll need to have your mic on. So
No
I
probs.
think, yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to turn me off for now. So if I just do that, and then
we by running this demo, and you can see. This is the Rekognition demo. This is available in our samples repository, which I'm sure Ian can throw up a link to, which is available on GitHub. But if
that'll need me to actually look that link up, but I'll find it. Don't worry.
It's github.com/APSEP/AWS-SDK-Delphi-samples, I think. So let's start off with the joke that we had before, which is not a hot dog. So we used this a few webinars back to recreate the Not a Hot Dog app from the Silicon Valley TV series. So if I hit detect labels here, Amazon Rekognition will look at this image that we provided to it, and it will give us back a set of labels. And by labels, it is just some arbitrary text that somehow describes, in this case, it's saying food, and the category for that is food and beverage. And it's also detected a hot dog, and that's also food and beverage, and some ketchup, which is food and beverage. But you'll notice that this one has a bounding box there. And that's because some things have instances within the image. So like this bit saying food is like a general theme for the image. And I think this ketchup appears to be as well. It's like detected some ketchup in the image, but I guess ketchup could be in lots of places. So they don't like give you a bounding box for that. But the hot dog itself, that is a thing that it can identify, and it gives you coordinates in your image for where that is. If let's open up another, and we can see here, and we can do detect labels here, and you get, as you can see, you get the same thing back here. We've got an apple, and it gives us a bounding box for that instance of an apple. It then gives us lots of other sort of themes for this image: food, fruit, plant, produce, cup. And notice, oh yeah, just in the corner there, it's actually picked out a mug, and I think that was from your desk, wasn't it, Ian? So didn't crop your test images up that well. So
I did that deliberately. I'm sure that's what I did.
Deliberate, yeah. But you can see again, we can detect images here. This is a really disgusting looking hot dog that you
7-Eleven finest. How dare you?
and a really overcooked, dry.
Oh, that was bad, and they gave me it at half price because it was so bad. But we needed to sample food. So.
But it does detect us pizza, so
it doesn't say horrible pizza, and that's what's missing.
Yeah. So we also tested it out before on your dogs, and because this one here definitely has an element of cat about it. So, and that is confirmed by Rekognition. So
can confirm he's very cat-like. Yeah.
But yeah, so you can see there's a lot more information here. It knows there's animals, canine, dog, and it's saying this one is a dog. Mammal, pet, puppy, person. I'm not sure there is any person here, but you have to
I wonder if it thought the chair was a person or something.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
if we yeah, unfortunately we can't for things that are like a theme or some kind of like idea that they've added. It doesn't give you a confidence, or I don't have an instance. I've not rendered a confidence, but here, as you can see, we can enable confidence. And if I make this a bit bigger, you'll see that it's 86.21% sure that this is a cat.
Nemo is a cat.
Yeah. So there's some bit of wiggle room there. It might be something else. But
You can, but I have to say, in defense of the algorithm, he's a very unusual looking dog.
yeah,
Because he's a cross between a border terrier and a Shih Tzu. So he actually has a long face and big whiskers. He's got like a moustache.
and the thing
Really
is, it's hard from this
make
angle.
people
I'm
know.
guessing this is a very cat-like thing to do as well. Like
Yeah, crabbing they call it in the dog world. But yeah, exactly. He's I mean, I don't think that's actually a bad guess by Amazon. If you were looking at that from a distance, you would say, well, maybe it is a cat.
But if this demo image here, so this is a photo I took. I think last time I was down in Jersey, where I'm from, and my wife and son there, with this very moody sky. If we hit detect labels, we'll see
picture, by the way.
Really a lot of information that comes back about this. Path, walkway, water, waterfront, flagstone, handrail, sidewalk, person. Now, person, you'll see it's actually highlighted because it knows there are multiple instances. It's highlighted here, and you
absolutely outstanding that it can do this. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about what is happening here in Delphi. You are sending this picture off. It's going up to Amazon. Amazon are processing that using their big, computerized power. And as we said before, the price is like 1 million images for a couple of cents, if that.
Well,
and
per image. So,
Oh yeah, okay. Well, anyway, it's
the first million image analysis will cost you, but then it gets cheaper after that. So if you're a really big user, the price bracket bumps down. So
right, okay, so not as cheap as I thought, but even so,
no.
I mean, if you were using this to tag a specific group of pictures, the 100 pictures or something like that, you're still looking at a couple of dollars American to tag 100 pictures. But it's what it's doing. It's not just and your SDK is amazing how it's done this. It's a really great demo. It's my favorite demo, by the way, of yours. But it's not just saying, oh, there's a person in this picture. It's saying, and here's the bounding box, the rectangle within which this person appears in the image. Oh, and I'm 90% sure this is a person.
99.06 on this one, 99.27 on this one.
Absolutely amazing.
Very high confidence scores, and obviously you can use that to make your own decisions about things. So you could say, oh, I only want to do this action if I am really confident that this thing is true. So you're going to say, okay, only if it's 99% or 98% or more, something. Whereas some things you might want to like hint at things within your applications, but not say, oh, this is definite, or not enable features unless you're more confident. So there's lots you can do with this. It's maybe we should actually take a quick look at the code behind this. Simple application with a list down the left here. This is a T image here. A T image here, and obviously I've got the toolbar up here with a couple of options. And when we hit detect labels, if I go through the action here, we've got the detect labels action. Let's go to that, and all we do to start with is we just if when we launch a a request, we're just going to say disable this button, so you can't click it again like super fast or anything, because there's no point in reprocessing the same image again and again and again. You know, it'll re-enable that when we reopen a new image, and then we create a recognition client. So the first thing, I'll take you up to the.
Can you just zoom your text up a little bit?
Yes, I will do that. Sorry, yeah. Let's go up quite a bit. There we go. So here you'll see in our users clause we use aws.recognition. So the pattern is simple. The users is whatever the service name is, aws dot whatever the service name is. So if this was simple queue service, otherwise known as SQS, it would be aws.sqs, and then you've got everything you need to use that service. So if we go back down here to this, the next thing you need to know is you need a client, and again it has a pattern. So you should, once you know the pattern, you almost don't need to look at the documentation, because it's always the same. So it's an interface, and you use the service name. So the same thing that you referenced in the users clause, aws.recognition. It's the recognition part, and then it's client, and then we use a T recognition client. We create that client, and then we can call actions on that, and we can say, okay, so detect labels. Now, detect labels accepts, you can give it an image from two different sources. You can either upload it, which needs to be an encoded image as a part of the payload, or you can say where the image is on S3. So to make that easier to work out what to do, this is one of the things you'd have to look up in our documentation, because this is expecting an image and an eye recognition image source, and we have a convenient way to create that, which is from file, and we specify the file name where we want to load that from, and that will automatically then load and encode that image as a part of the payload.
I have to say, in my demo when I did the Not a Hot Dog app, I only had to change that to actually load it from a stream, because we were taking a photo from the camera, which I then saved to a stream, and then I loaded
exactly.
it from a stream. Yeah.
So you can say from stream, or you can say from S3 object, and then you just pass the arguments that it asks for. So for an S3 object, you have to pass it as a minimum the bucket name and the key of the object. And you can optionally specify a version of the object on S3. But in this case, we're using from file, just because it's there on disk that we've selected. So we call this, if this has an error of some kind, I've not guarded it here. It's just going to throw up the exception. And the exceptions are scoped. So if you do want to do some handling of this, you can do except e. You can generally say aws exception and do something there. That's going to catch all. We need to add something else to the users clause for that, but that's going to catch all AWS exceptions, so you can handle them. But in this case, we're not. We could just say recognition exception, and that's going to catch all of the different exceptions that recognition is likely to throw. I should type an on there, otherwise that's not correct. But yeah, so that's how you would guard if you need to. In this simple demo, I simply don't do that, because I just let the program throw up the exception, so you can see what it is, and the description of the error typically gets populated in the exception that's raised, so you can work out what you've done wrong. But sometimes, so on the response, so notice here we have a response which is here's another pattern to use. I recognition detect label response, because we're using the detect labels function. That is the response we're getting back, an eye recognition detect labels response. And all responses, regardless of the action, have a is successful, and that's just an easy way. It's almost just a reaction now. I just say if L response is successful before I actually do anything with the data, because there are times when even if it's not thrown an exception, there are some services that regard things as like a partial success, for example. So you have to inspect the data of the response to understand that. But that's a service specific thing. I just have a habit of just making sure I specify is it successful before I do anything with it. So that's a good habit to get into, for your applications. So all I'm doing here then is I'm assigning detect labels, and I'm creating a new list because the labels that come back in the response are owned by the response. When the response is freed, and because there's an interface here, this is going to be freed at the end of its scope. So I create a new list to take that data, so we can store it beyond here, and we're using the labels as a source for that. So it's going to effectively create a new list with the same contents. And because we then assign it to detect labels, and if you notice here, we've got our detect labels, which has a setter attached to it. We then just see what happens here. We just make sure that if we have a detected labels list already, we just free it because we're going to use the new one. And then we do a detected list, which is the list view on the left. And we're just going to begin update because we're going to start updating the user interface. And then we iterate through the items that were returned, and we are going to add them into that list. And when someone selects something from that list, we have a function that gets called from the label where is it? The detected list change. So when that happens, we select the label based on the index, and then this is where the magic of the bounding box happens. So basically, we check if the label is assigned, so we've not been passed a nil, and the label instances are assigned. So that means that the label that's been provided actually has detected instances. I'm guarding this, so I'm saying if these things aren't true, we just get out and we don't need to do anything further. But otherwise, we are loading a bitmap, which is the bitmap, and then we're going to draw on top of it, and we're going to so it's reloading the image that we selected, and then we are drawing over the top of it the bounding boxes for the instances, and then we're just assigning that back to the image. The most complicated bit of this, and I have had requests, and I'm considering options for how to deal with this. This is because it's the data that's come back from Amazon. We have to do some calculations because they're relative coordinates, and we're working not in a relative world but in an absolute world. So we need to calculate the actual coordinates within our image based on the current scaling of that image. So that's why this looks a little bit complicated here. I have some ideas for some nice components to wrap some of this up to make it super easy for people. But at the minute,
that's actually a good point to bring up as well, which is that one of the things that people might not catch about this is that most of this is an API or an SDK,
Yeah.
and not a set of components. So in order to use this, they don't drop components. I mean, I'm sure you can talk about some of the components in a moment, but the tendency is to actually just include the file, as you said. So AWS, what was it called? I forget what the initial bit before the dot was, but then whatever the name of the service is. So it's
yeah. So there is a reason for that, which is it is mimicking Amazon's own SDKs. So if you go and do talk to Amazon from, say, a C# application, a .NET application, you'll do effectively exactly the same pattern as what's happening here.
And I mean, it's just in case they were going, oh, well, I'm going to drop a component on my form and off I go. You don't need to. And actually, the samples, which I keep putting up here in the top left-hand corner there, the samples show you the code. And when I did the Not Hot Dog thing, which was not a trivial app, 20 years ago, that would have been probably impossible. And certainly at the time of the Silicon Valley series that we were riffing off of, they probably couldn't have done it for real. We did it for real. we wrote an app for real, and most of the time was spent with me emulating their user interface. It was not the actual recognition. I just used this your example code, swapped out the file loading from a file, the image loading from a file, to just capturing it from the camera stream. That was it. I didn't need to do. I just took your sample, tweaked it a bit, and off I went. Very, very easy. And I do keep laboring to people, I don't want to think, oh, he's the guy in the Embarcadero shirt, so he must be good, right? He must be like really good at Delphi. I never say that. I'm okay. I obviously know what I'm doing, but people like Richard, for example, as we've already established, are very, very good developers. But I am just a regular person like most of the people watching you. I make mistakes and have to Google things all the time and read them. I want people to understand that's the point about Delphi, is you don't need to be a rocket scientist. And with this SDK, it adds those rocket scientist superpowers, to your library, to your set of skills. Suddenly you can do image recognition and do very, very good image recognition with not a lot of code. It's great.
So I will say on the components, while we've touched on that, is at the minute we have two components. One of them's for FMX and one of them's for VCL. They do the same thing, and it's for Cognito, for using Amazon's hosted user interface for signing in to an identity provider to get credentials for use on Amazon. And I've got demos of that. I've demoed that before on these webinars. I'm sure at some point we will demo those again in some context. Those components were effectively a minimum to get Cognito as a minimum viable product for use within a Delphi application. But there are plans, and they are going to be sooner rather than later, to build to provide a whole host of more components. So I am not ignoring the RAD approach. So there will be more of that coming. In actual fact, the release of the IAM service today was actually one of the key milestones in getting towards that, because one of the first things you need to do with Amazon Web Services is take care of options and access control and credentials, basically, and the IDE integrations that I'm working on at the moment needed that support to be able to then build out the components how I want them to be. So
it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing. You need some parts of it to exist before the other part can exist, which then enables another part that you need to make something. Yeah, I mean, this goes back to what I said before, which is the sort of quality of the engineering you put into it. I'm really impressed. I mean,
and the thing is that
You know.
It is worth saying it is a constantly evolving, moving target. I make regular releases with you know, features and obviously fixes whenever people you know, report any issues. You know, this is not an SDK that's you know, like just like sort of like half done on the market. This is something I'm planning to keep up to date. Obviously, there is a huge amount of effort and cost involved in doing that, and fingers crossed. You know, I keep getting supported by Embarcadero and maybe some sales to help that along.
I think there's certainly the will is there from our part as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we just support you. You do all the hard work. I always say this in the webinars. You know, I make myself look good by doing demos. I can do the hot dog app, no talent whatsoever. I just use your demos and just you know, knock together a user interface, and off it went. So you've got some more demos you want to show. So if so, then I'm going to put us back to the content side.
Yeah. So one thing I'll point out, and this is, I'm going to confess to actually making a bit of a mess today, because the next images I was going to show was so here's a photo of something we can all typically recognize as some Lego bricks. So if I hit detect labels on this, you'll see that it's detected a toy, but it can't tell you what it is. It's a toy. And you know, it thinks, oh, that's a wheel, it thinks maybe. And let's see what the confidences are. So let's scale that up. 75% of that's a wheel, 70% that's a wheel, which it could be. I mean, this could be like a lorry with those little toy wheels sticking out the side. So it's reasonable to assume that. But you know, you can see it's not a great deal of information here, except for it knows these are toys, and that's, you know, 96% a toy, and that one's 56% a toy. But there, if you need more than that, if you need to know more about what these things are, or say you need, you have custom components built by your company, and you've got a business process that you need to be able to identify things, and Amazon's model, its default model, is not going to know about your bespoke components that your company builds, your widgets or whatever it is you build. So there is a thing called detect custom labels, and I was hoping to show that today. But the thing is, what you have to do with detect custom labels, you have to provide it a training data set, and then you have to get it to train on that training data set. Now, it's actually pretty easy to do. They provide you on the Amazon Web Services console. It's pretty drag and drop. You go and say create a new project for custom labels. You drag and drop some training data to it, or you give it an S3 bucket with training images, and it will then learn what they are, and you label them. You say this thing is a that, and that thing is a this, and it starts to recognize you when you do a detect custom labels and specify what project to run. It will then start. So we could label this as, you know, as brick 1x2, brick 1x4, brick 1x1. But you know,
the reason I put the camera on is to see your face.
But unfortunately,
because people watching this, I'll give you a little behind the scenes tip. Just before we go, Richard is very meticulous. Okay, he's one of these guys who is always prepared, and whenever I say to him, "Hey, you are doing this webinar," I say, "Of course, I'm ready." You know, and then he messaged me just before and went, "I screwed up the labels." I think it's the labels. And I laughed. And what did I say? You have to punch yourself in the face. I want to see visible bruising. It was only a joke. However, it was nice to just see you. Richard may be brilliant, but even Richard can sometimes get it wrong. So I felt very good about that. He is mortal. After all, yes.
I got myself a training data set, and in fact, I have that here. I can show you if I go back to my documents, and I go to training data, Lego brick. So here you can see I've got a single Lego brick, and I've got one of the Lego brick, the single Lego brick upside down. Other bricks are available. I should probably say.
Marco Cantu is a very big fan of Lego. I don't know if you know that, but he goes to Lego conventions and things like that. So he will be very, very impressed. You have a demo with Lego in it.
Oh, I wanted a much better demo with Lego. I've got all kinds
He
of.
is absolutely obsessed with Lego.
Oh, we've got a lot of Lego in this household, but yeah. So that's why I thought it's actually a really good thing that like everyone recognizes. I thought it would be a really like easy to demo thing, but then the problem is once you've got the training data set, it does take time for the model to train. And I like clicked start training like only like 20 minutes before doing this, and on top of that I also need to update the demo to accept like a selection of which model you want to run. So maybe at some point in the future you'll have another excuse to demo that.
I mean, you know, I'm only pulling your leg up, but the thing about live demos is it's a live demo, and you always show your code and you show what you're doing live. I don't think we've ever done one where we pre-recorded it with you. Actually, I think it's always been live, and it's pretty slick. Your stuff is amazing. It really is. I mean, that SDK is quite incredible. So
yeah.
Okay,
so I should point out for people who also want to know more about things, there is on the latest version of it used to be that you just go in and you hit F1 on one of our classes, and that was registered, so you could just hit F1 there, and it would find within the help index. That's an eye recognition label category, and it'll give you the info of the properties. We only have a name on this thing, we do now actually put this on here. So the core library, the components for FMX, and the VCL components.
Very slick.
It does take a moment for this to load, because to be honest, the reference for it is getting huge. So it's a pretty big help file. There is a symbol reference here with all of the different supported services at the minute. So, and like S3 and IAM are massive. So the amounts of symbols in the index is pretty big. At some point in the future, I may actually have to split it out into different help files just to make it a little bit more performant. But
we did have a question that I pinned from Sandra Haddad, which probably leads us nicely into you talking a little bit more about some of the other things this can do.
Okay.
He or she, I'm guessing Sandro is a man, actually, given this picture, but I apologize if it's not. You are what you are. Sandro, you're a Sandro, and that's all that matters. It says, does it support detection from an IP camera in a real-time video stream? So can you detect labels and stuff like that in a video stream? It doesn't matter whether it's real time, as video stream is a video stream, really.
Right. Okay. So that is so if we go to the machine learning section and go to recognition, we'll see here in the documentation, I like to try and give like a basic example of invoking one of the features up front, so you can just see what classes, what uses clauses, what classes, things that you need to be aware of. And on recognition here, we talk about various things like detecting objects and concepts, which is what we've just been playing with. Detecting and analyzing faces, you can do that. You can do this in both images and videos. There's searching for faces in collections is another thing you can do. if you've got collections of images and videos and things you want to have a search through. Detecting PPE equipment's really good. Recognizing celebrities, moderating content, detecting text, and detecting video segments. The one caveat here, so we have all of these features built in. The one caveat is, unfortunately, at the minute, we don't support Rekognition streaming. So that is a feature of Amazon Rekognition. It is something I am working towards. But the nature of how it works, I wanted to try and get something, nice and slick and easy to use. But because you have to do lots of asynchronous things, because you've got streams here and there, and you get spat back data as it recognizes things. It's.
I mean, the concept there is a much more two-way flow of information.
Yeah,
you're sending out, or
you're streaming
analyze, and it's coming back straight away, going, yes, here it is, and it's on, this frame at this point in the video, and okay. So, I mean, Sandro, just to answer your question, really to summarize it, Amazon Rekognition can do that.
Yeah,
and the answer is that the intention is to be able to do that, but it's actually a little bit complicated, even for a superstar like Richard. And the intention is there. But as you pointed out in that help there, it doesn't just recognize objects and things like that. The weirdest thing that I still think is the bizarrest capability is recognizing celebrities. So you can put, if you take a photograph, let's say you're at a football match, a soccer match, and Americans would call it, but a football match in England. Or, for example, you're at the Super Bowl, which is coming up. Kansas City Chiefs are playing there. Now, those of you who are unfortunately burdened by a Taylor Swift fan living in the house, as I am, she's fanatical, will know that Taylor Swift is a very big fan of the Kansas City Chiefs because of her boyfriend is one of the guys on there. I think he's a tight end or something, which is an amazing name for a job, isn't it? What do you do? I'm a tight end. Oh, okay. And but it would mean that, in theory, you could take an image of the crowd or a photograph of the crowd and then tell it to detect the celebrities, and it would show you who all the celebrities are. So if you took a photo of that box, you zoomed in, because my camera can do 150x digital zoom. I can be at one end of the stadium and zoom in on the VIP box, and it'll tell you who all the celebrities are in there. Which, as you pointed out previously, as I think we mentioned on a previous webinar, was actually used for the royal wedding. I think they had it trained with some guests and things like that, and then they could point the camera.
I don't think they needed to custom train it for guests for a royal wedding. I think it's like packed.
Oh, they just use the ready-made list. Okay. Well, I think if you had a list of faces, you could probably do it. But I mean, the 5th Duke of Monmouthshire, I'm sure you would probably have to either know who he was or.
While they say celebrities, I should point out that Amazon define that basically as they maintain a database of tens of thousands of famous and notable people.
Well, of course, I'm going to be in there now, So. Healthy famous.
Yeah, we'll probably, yeah.
You're in there. You're on the champagne list, but you're not on the champagne and caviar list. Yes.
Yeah. So the point is, it can be really useful. Even in a business setting, actually, being able to pinpoint notable people. I mean, if you're running an event, you probably want to know if Richard Branson shows up.
Yeah, and also, if you are if you're doing, I mean, some other uses for it are, as we said before, if you require people to wear PPE, personal protective equipment,
Yeah.
and you, for example, I have behind me, just over there, as I point towards it, that's a hand scanner. So you can have your hand scanner. The person is at a building site, for example, or food handling, where Danish Bacon are a customer, actually, funnily enough. But they use the hand scanner to unlock the door to go into what they call the high risk area. Now, the high risk area is where you can't have hair. Not that anybody like me would drop hair, but if your hair was falling out, or you had a beard or something like that, which is obviously considered unhygienic because it is. If you triggered the hand scanner, you would then be able to take an image of the person, use this app, this SDK, to detect whether the person has the correct PPE on, and then either open the relay to allow the door to open, or show a message saying, sorry, no PPE detected, please put on PPE, or report to the manager, or whatever it is. And these are use cases where it's actually same with detecting people. If
I
you
was
are
going to
going
say,
to do something like automatically lock some doors,
yeah, security environments, being able to say, is this person supposed to be allowed through here? Is this person allowed in this area?
automatic fire alarms. If the fire alarm goes off, some people do what they call piggybacking when they go into an office. So they've got one of these little cards that they use to get into the building, but sometimes they open the door and their mate comes in behind them, which is okay, if that person's allowed. So there's probably no big deal about it. But now the computer system has got no way of knowing how many people are actually really in the building. If they clock on and off for the job, then usually, unless they forgot to clock in and out, they know. But if they're just using it for access control, quite often people let their mates in or a guest. Now, if you can detect people in the images, when the fire alarm goes off, you know that there is a person in that location because you've detected them. And if it's a 90% confidence there's a person in there, it's worth the fire brigade or the fire service, in American, going into the building and looking for someone to rescue. Now, they're going to do it anyway, because I'm sure they have their own rules and regulations about how they clear buildings. But there's more of a sense of urgency if it's gone off. The same would be true of burglar alarms and things like that. If a passive entry alarm on a window goes off and you've got a detection saying there's a person detected on the image, there's a very good chance someone's in the building. Don't go in until the cops turn up. That kind of thing. So I mean, the more that I look at your SDK that you've put together, the more I can think of more and more use cases. And by the way, people, feel free to email me if you've want some suggestions, because I've got loads. I've got nothing better to do than think up stuff. But likewise, if you've got some suggestions and we think that they're applicable, I'm quite happy to pass them on to Richard if you think there's, is there some way that the SDK could help with these, because I'm only half joking when I say there's nothing you can't do with Delphi. You can do almost everything. There are very, very few use cases where Delphi isn't the right answer, and the language is so easy to use as well. But it's SDKs like your stuff, Richard, that it just makes it even easier. You do all stuff.
On that note, I would also say, because I think I have heard sort of like comments before about, oh, well, you're really just asking a cloud service to do it, rather than writing it in Delphi. But it's like some of these things are so complicated to do that while you can do them, writing all of the code yourself in Delphi, there are times that actually, if you just need that feature, if your business is face detection, sure, go and write all of the algorithms, do that in Delphi or whatever language you want. But if your business is not all, working out whether faces match or whatever, if your business is, I just need to know if this person is, is on the good list or the bad list, Well, if there's a service there that you can integrate in like 5 minutes, that does that, robustly, then you should probably use that. Yeah. So, and that's where
my twist on that is to say, well, look, the whole point about Delphi is that it's component-based software development, and you're using the runtime library, the VCL or the FireMonkey library, and all that work's done for you, and it's all been tested by lots of other people using it. And believe me, they do let us know if there's a problem.
Yeah.
You go on any of the forums for things like beta test, it's a depressing day if you work at Embarcadero and you open up your library. But we do take, we do try and fix as many problems as possible. But software development is hard, and even an organization like us get it wrong frequently. But it's a lot easier to use a ready-made bunch of code that somebody else has worked very hard and dedicated their expertise on it. You are an expert at AWS. I think that's fair to say. And by the way, he's available for bar mitzvahs and also consultancy, I'm sure. And that's half joking. You are actually, you do consultancy as well, don't you?
Yeah, if people need help integrating Amazon into a Delphi project, I'm happy to help out. If contact me.
Yeah, not for free. Yeah,
not for free. Yeah. Obviously,
well,
the library, but
yeah, there's only so many things you can do for free anyway as well. You've got to earn a living.
Yeah.
But if they've got any questions, then feel free to email me, and if not, approach Richard about stuff. But you're an expert in AWS, and that's the point I was making, was why would you go off and try and Google all the right ways of doing it, look through a load of posts and things like that on the off chance that the answer might be on Stack Overflow and it's correct and works, when instead you can already use a ready-made library that's done it all for you, and not only that, it's commercially supported. There's nothing wrong with open source, and they do get the source code of your library with the pro version. That's right, isn't it? The pro
version comes with source.
So the future proofing it. If Richard Hatherall does suddenly decide that he's going to go and swim off the coast of Jersey and get eaten by sharks or whatever lives in the sea outside Jersey, you've got the source code available. Don't do that though, Richard, otherwise we're in trouble.
I think Jersey waters are pretty safe.
Yeah. More likely to get a bit of sunburn and possibly some bowel disease from the channel.
Cleanest waters in the British territories, I think.
Yeah, but there's a relative. It's like saying this is the least muddy mud or something. But yeah, it's actually. I'm joking apart. As a Brit myself, the one thing I miss about living in Texas is the sea. I can get to the sea, but it takes me 8 hours to drive there. So, I go to Corpus Christi or something like that on the Gulf of America, as it's now called, apparently, instead of the Gulf of Mexico. But yeah, going down that area is great. But the British, there's nothing like the British seaside. It's a fantastic place. It is. Do you want to? Have you got any more demos you want to show us, or have we covered what you needed? And
it's really what the topic here is, recognition. So I think I think that was the main demo, is the detect labels. So I'm happy to answer any questions beyond that, or give any demos of anything if anyone else has asked those questions.
Let me just have a look. So we answered most of them. And Boyne is also talking about his library. And I will call this out because it's not directly in competition with Amazon's Appercept, SDK, but Boyne does do. Boyne was on last Tuesday, I think. Boyne Mitov for mitofsoftware.com, and he does do image processing components, which do it locally on the machine.
Yeah.
And it's important to make the point between the differentiation between things. Yeah. Doing it locally means you can detect eyes and lips and a face and things like that, but the Amazon stuff goes way beyond that. You cannot, for example, do the image recognition and tagging like the Amazon stuff does. Boyan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that's the case with your components.
Yeah.
Boyan's components do a lot of the image processing. So you can take an image, you can clean it up, you can remove noise from it, you can invert the image, and all sorts of other things. His components are really great.
Yeah.
Also, a big Arduino guy. He's got Visuino, which is an IDE specifically for the Visuino. I haven't got my device on my desk at the moment, but
just to add an endorsement to that, I have thought about how I'm going to demonstrate some of the features of Amazon Web Services, and actually, if I was going to demo some of the video features, I would probably be also using the Mitov components to do.
Right, yeah.
Do that, so.
And he did say you can do tagging in Vision Lab. It's not quite the same though. Yeah. But yeah, look, I mean, I'm not going to knock him. Boyan, I really like Boyan. He's a nice guy, and I think most MVPs know Boyan quite well anyway. He pops up from time to time. We have him on the webinars all the time. He's a great guy. Lives in California, despite the name. So Boyan Mitov, the Californian. So there you go. Okay, well, great. Look, a good demo. I mean, we only brushed the surface. If you go to Apercept, the website there, I'm going to pull it up at the bottom in case they get it wrong. The guy today that was sitting to my...
You've swapped us around now, so...
Yeah, it does that. It's the desktop software. It swaps us around. But anyway, he's over there. There you go. Is Richard Hatherall. He's an MVP. He's also a tech partner, which means sometimes he gets 2 emails from me about something, and sometimes he gets none because for some reason he gets filtered out. I don't understand how that happens, but the company is apercept.com. Very good thing. And as I said before, and I put the overlay up once more as well, you can also, if you want to try the Embarcadero version, you can go into the Get It Package Manager. And this time we have to go this way to be seen around the corner, and just type in AWS into Get It Package Manager, and you can install it from there as well. The Embarcadero version does a lot of what you've seen today, but also you get with the Pro version you get support, I believe, is that right? And what do you get with the Pro version actually that they don't get with?
Well, so at the minute, the main 2 things are you get source code and you get priority support with me. So the Embarcadero edition support is provided by Embarcadero. If there's something that Embarcadero can't handle, then I get the email from you guys anyway. But it might take you a little bit longer to get an answer that way.
Swipe to Richard.
Yeah.
Well, this complicated. It's got long words in it.
Whereas you can email me directly if you've bought the one of my editions. But there are going to be I have features planned that actually are going to be Pro only. And as I say, there are things that are released all the time. We'll probably have another release in a couple of weeks' time with new things, and at some point in the not too distant future, there are some exclusive Pro only features. I'm trying to make it so you get as much of the actual API access with the Embarcadero edition, but some of the sort of enhanced IDE integrations and things will only come with the Pro.
And also, I mean, I say this most times I have tech, component vendors on and tech partners. Excuse me. And also, it's about supporting a business and supporting because none of the tech partners are huge, giant corporations like Microsoft or something like that. And every penny that goes into them goes back into the product and back into making sure that Richard doesn't drown on the coast of Jersey or anything like that, in a boat made of paper. So it's about support as much as anything else. But if you're using it for a big product, a corporate product, then I would definitely say that's something you want a Pro version. Gary Sims for Victoria, BC Homes. It says interesting framework. Thanks for the demo. I'm guessing if it's your kind of software you write, Gary, is what I think it is, then it's probably going to have a lot of application to what you want to do. And we only showed Rekognition today. There are other SDKs, to do with S3, which is very interesting stuff, and all sorts of different packages. Rekognition is one of the ones that kind of encompasses some kind of oh wow moments. So it's a good demo to go look, and it's spotted my dog as a cat or something random like that. But drawing bounding boxes and that's very clever stuff. But there are some other less exciting SDKs, but even more profoundly useful. And the I am stuff, which is you've only just released today? No, yesterday, which will be coming out on Get It soon.
Well, that's another benefit of the
building blocks of a lot of things.
That's another benefit of the Appercept editions is they were actually a few days early.
They're almost getting the latest version. Yes, exactly. I have to say you have a very good relationship with the Get It team, actually, because I see you guys always sending emails. I get, for those that don't know what I do in the company, I get a lot of emails involved in a lot of different weird things because of what I do, and I see some emails about all sorts of things. Okay, and Ron says thanks as well. So as usual, great stuff. Well, Richard, I'm going to hide out. Thanks a lot. I hope things carry on as they do. You may be back for another one in the future. I'm not sure whether we've got any directly planned, but it's always good to have you on. We get on quite well anyway, and two Brits, we spend Richard and I quite often have little Skype chats and put the world to rights and moan about all the things that are horrible and stuff like that. That's what you got to have someone that you can. Sometimes it only works if you talk to another developer, and that developer is a Brit or something like that who gets it. Sometimes you just got, I just had this happen. It was really horrible.
Exactly.
Oh, Peter Edwards. Peter is actually once upon a time was a customer of mine, funnily enough, years ago. And give the UK dev group a plug.
Yes, I am a member of the UK dev group as well. So every month we meet online on Zoom. Every so often we do a meeting in person as well. So usually at a pub in London somewhere, and talk a lot of Delphi, a lot of tech. So
there are quite a few. I found out the more I've done these webinars, there are quite a few people in the Dallas area, and there's some talk of us. I mean, some of them have moved out to ridiculously kind of cowboy town places, but there is some talk of us actually probably meeting up at some point and maybe having something together. So we shall see. Rick says
if you want to be involved in a group, that provides Delphi specific, we do other things as well, but our main focus is Delphi. Then UK Dev Group is a great place. So
and actually, if they go to the Embarcadero.com website, go to I think it's blogs and then community. I think it's listed there, but I haven't got graphics set up for them today, but I'll post them so that we've had webinars about it before. Maxi Donkey, who does a very interesting AI library actually as well. Thanks, Richard. And you're welcome. And Coda says thanks, Richard. No thanks
you're
to
welcome.
him.
Thank you very much for listening.
I never do. I always tell people I never do anything. I just talk nonsense. That's my job. So, okay. Well, look. Thanks a lot. I'm going to call it a day. I will see you again soon. So goodbye. And I will see you myself on Tuesday. What have we got happening on Tuesday? Let me just pull up the webinar site. So if you haven't already, you should go to the webinar site. I'm just trying to see if I've got a link for it. No, I don't. Oh, yes, I do. Here we go. Either scan that code or go to here. We list all the webinars we've got planned. 30 webinars for 30 years of Delphi. I'm so glad it wasn't 60 years of Delphi. Otherwise, well, you'll all probably be sick of me by the time I've done 30, but 60 webinars will probably finish me off. But 2 a week, every Tuesday, every Friday. Now, the clocks will go back at some point during that. Go forwards. And the clock change in Europe will happen before it happens in America. So at some point, there will be a bit of a time difference. And you'll be seeing me, instead of at 6 p.m., you'll be seeing me at 5 p.m. But on that's UTC. But I'm not sure what that is, but we'll make sure. If you go to that site or scan that code there, you'll find out. On Tuesday, I think we are doing a webinar about upgrading your projects from older versions of Delphi 7 and 2003, and even a tool to convert from VCL to FireMonkey. So if you've ever thought, you know what, I would like to get this app that I wrote in the VCL and convert it so that it will work on Mac OS, you'll have to go to FireMonkey first, because that's the framework that you need for that. The tool I'm going to talk about on Tuesday will help you do that. There's some other tools as well, and we've also got a security webinar in a couple of weeks, I think, as well, where we will be discussing tools to check your code for things like memory leaks and security issues and stuff like that. And also, I think on Friday, I'm going to do a webinar on installers. So Windows installers, MSIX installers, Mac OS installers, iOS installation, and Android as well, and possibly Linux. We'll see how that goes. I might have some news on the Linux stuff coming up as well soon, so that will be good. And yes, and on Knut says he's looking forward to the 60th anniversary. I don't want to worry, but I suspect I will not be around for that one. It might happen, but I doubt it. But I'll be very, very old by then. Ali says it's great to have such an SDK. Believe me, without such an SDK, and Richard is still in the background in the studio, without such an SDK, the client-side implication of an AWS service would take a long time. This is true. Richard has worked on these SDKs for years, plural. I know that. Probably not every single day, 24 hours a day, but a lot of effort. I mean, I have regular meetings with him about progress and that, and it's a heck of a lot of effort goes into it. So really, really good stuff. And Knut says he'll be old as well. Nearly every waking hour, he says, yeah, well, I don't believe you. Whatever. But anyway, I'll see you again on Tuesday. Thanks for sticking around. The webinar on the 14th is going to be a special one. We've got some special guests. And by the way, those of you that like these things, let me just see if I can point to it. There you go. You'll notice I changed for the regulars that come along. I like to have different backgrounds in the background on my PC. And this one here is a picture of a cat with a Delphi helmet, a knitted Delphi helmet. This was from Paul McGee. Oh, hang on. Who was it? Let me just check. Yeah, Paul McGee. Not one that we normally know in Australia, a different Paul McGee. And I am going to get it put up on the Mid-Journey ones, but this is what it looks like. Isn't that awesome? It is, of course, a AI generated image, but I just, I like having these images. But we've got a whole repository into that. Sandro says this SDK could be a component. No, it couldn't. Components, and also actually look at the demos and you see it probably makes a lot more sense for it not to be a component. There, Richard's going to come back another time and talk about some potential for components as well. So without giving the game away too much. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day. I will see you all on Tuesday, same time as today, and then on Friday. And then we'll talk about what's going on after that. But for now, thanks for sticking with me. If you're watching on YouTube, please click on the like and subscribe button. We won't know who you are. The subscribe button will just give you an alert when we go live. We're going to start doing some shorts videos, like 2 minutes long maybe. and also some unplanned videos where we're not going to advertise them. We're just going to put them up on the YouTube channel of some interesting topics. And I get people sending me stuff all the time. If you go onto LinkedIn or YouTube and click on like and subscribe, it also works on Meta and on Instagram. You will get notified. I won't know who you are. I won't have in your email address. Nobody at Embarcadero will know who you are. We will know that people have subscribed, but that's it. We'll just know a count of the people subscribe. But if you click on like and subscribe, you will get a notification when we put some of those videos up. And it's very important that you do that because, like I say, they're not all going to be regular planned ones like these. We've got a lot coming up this year, massive amounts of content. All right. Well, thanks very much, and I'll see you again.